Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Rashid James on the Rashid James Day channel, and allegedly the tides have turned on Tati in the mishap of James Charles and Tati. So what's going on is basically Tati has something going on herself. So has a problem herself, and I think that is the reason why she is doing stuff to James Charles. So that's why I said in another video that there's a more lenient side onto James Charles' side, and we have absolutely no evidence on YouTube. Nobody knows besides Tati's word that James Charles allegedly did something wrong, and the guy who said he was sexually harassed by James Charles. But here is another episode of RJD Politics.
The story doesn't quite end there, however. Yes, we may all watch with glee as this entitled homo has his channel and reputation shattered, but Tati, the beauty influencer who originally called him out and began the destruction of his channel, is far from perfect herself. Don't get me wrong, some of Tati's criticisms were fine, and her damning allegations do seem to be supported by the evidence. But Tati is also an entitled, emotional drama queen who's exposed herself as a hypocrite in her James Charles video. I clenched my teeth and suffered through all 43 minutes of heavy sighing, long breathing, humble bragging, and repeated hypocrisies. After only reading the description of this video, I knew I was going to hate it. This is the hardest video I've ever had to make. Just shut up and start rambling. The whole feud began because James promoted a vitamin company that was in direct competition to Tati's vitamin company. I get that you feel upset. I get that you feel betrayed and a little bit hurt, but you are not entitled to James's advertising power just because you gave him something without asking for anything in return. I mean, this all began because of a 10-second Instagram story advertisement. This guy that you pretend to care so much about is suddenly worth dragging for 43 minutes, as well as bringing forward far more serious allegations that you just ignored until now? As I began watching, yes, some of her criticisms were fine, but that does not excuse the excessive amount of hypocrisies and inconsistencies in Tati's arguments. The beginning of this drawn-out rant features Tati explaining how conniving the beauty community is.
And I really have to feel from what I've witnessed in the past of how stuff kind of goes down as far as like really ripping into a situation and giving your, your 2 cents. This is typical behavior if you go and hang out with a group of influencers. Yes, it's about makeup. Yes, sometimes business. Yes, sometimes jokes. But a lot of the time, it's whatever's brewing or happening or someone going through something.
She's not wrong, but if she has such an issue with this attitude among the beauty community, why is she utilizing this same attitude to springboard her video and bring down James Charles? And before you Tati fangirls yell at me, you do not accuse someone of exhibiting predatory behavior if you are not trying to ruin them.
This is me having someone that I mentored, someone that I cared for, really not care for me and exhibit that.
The problem is, Tati feels personally attacked by James running a short little ad for a competing brand. I get that that may upset you, but you also said multiple times throughout your video that your relationship with James was non-transactional.
My relationship with James Charles is not transactional. I have not asked him for a penny. I've never been on his Instagram.
It's pretty egotistical for you to assume James making a quick dollar off a short little ad is some kind of calculated attack designed to hurt you. It seems a bit like your entire reasoning for being upset with James is no different than how you behave.
That James Charles felt like that was somehow like some sneaky thing that happened because his ego is so big that he will think that everything is about him. Back in the day, he had drama with Nikita Dragon. I've never screwed him over. I've never publicly humiliated him.
Until now. If you want to call the guy out, fine. But stop hiding behind this petty, humble bragging to somehow make yourself look like the flawless good guy. However, her humble bragging and nice guy approach ended up shooting her in the foot anyway. At the beginning of her video, she says this:
It's a horrible thing to tell a person like, hey, it's sunshiny outside, don't feel bad about whatever you're going through. Life will never stop being painful no matter where in the world you are, no matter what your circumstances. You are always going to experience heartbreak, and that's part of being human. For me, I always like to say that just because the person next to you is in a full body cast doesn't mean that your broken arm doesn't hurt. Pain is pain.
But then when she's criticizing James much later in the video, she says this.
How entitled do you have to be to think that you have it rough? You are a 19-year-old millionaire. You do not get to wake up and, stress out about how unfair your job is. Like, that's just so ridiculous to me.
Is pain pain, or is he not allowed to feel sad? Your inconsistencies make you come off as incredibly fake. But what else could I expect from a makeup artist? This whole situation, although non-political, is a good reflection of the increasingly liberal, entitled attitude throughout our culture. Tati is not entitled to James's promotion, and I'm sorry you helped him out, but life isn't fair. You are not entitled to James's time or being given a response that you feel is suitable. And James is not entitled to other people's sexuality. His fame is not an excuse to act manipulative and take advantage of Tati's endless generosity. All in all, this generational entitlement is constantly being hijacked to push political agendas for members of the far left. And our culture constantly rewards the victim, the crybaby, and the entitled. This silly Tati vs. James feud is a direct result of that. Both James Charles and Tati are complete idiots.
I told you guys that we had something on Tati. She thought she was just gonna walk away, and guess what, guys? She's been losing subscribers, and guess who's been winning subscribers? James Charles, because they're starting to think more clearly now that the rain is gone, that she stopped crying and all this extra stuff, and now that it's slowed down a little bit, they understand that Tati is very entitled. She wants to be known more. She wants James Charles to be on her side at all times, just because a different company that he was advertising for is against her company or running against her company, so she feels threatened personally. She shouldn't take things like this personally, and she's over here blaming James Charles for taking things personally. It is actually her. So that's pretty much it for today. And we will see you guys on the next episode of RJD Politics.